What you are about to hear is not mere casual guidance. It is a profound shift. A shift in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you think, and the way you move through this world. It is a shift in how you interpret your circumstances and direct the unfolding of your future. Let me reveal a truth most never realize until it is too late. Your life conforms precisely to your assumptions. The way you expect things to unfold is invariably how they do, not by the hand of fate, but through your focused attention. Your dominant thoughts pull your circumstances into alignment. They guide your actions, shape your words, and determine whether you persist or retreat. Consider this deeply. What if right now you assume that everything is always working out for you, even when circumstances seem challenging, when the silence feels heavy, or when evidence is nowhere in sight? What if you move through life with certainty, as though the doors have already opened, and your only task was to walk confidently through them? This is not mere wishful thinking. It is intentional mental creation, the precise process used by history's greatest minds to rise above failure, criticism, and fear. Henry Ford did not hope for success. He decided upon it. He poured unwavering belief into the unseen until the world could no longer deny his vision. Thomas Edison did not doubt after countless failed prototypes because he had already assumed his success. It lived vividly within his imagination. Charles Schwab did not operate from fear but from absolute faith, a faith so potent that it shaped entire industries. And Andrew Carnegie never wondered, what if this doesn't work? He moved with absolute certainty, knowing the outcome was already secure. Henry Ford, when faced with ridicule and doubt, did not see rejection. He saw affirmation of his vision's magnitude. He understood deeply that anything revolutionary initially appears absurd. When skeptics laughed at the notion of affordable automobiles, he moved forward even more vigorously, knowing that his vision was destined to reshape society. His assumption was not passive hope, but active, relentless conviction. He operated each day not from possibility, but from absolute certainty. His mind so saturated with the future he intended, reality had no choice but to follow. Thomas Edison, confronted with endless experiments that seemingly yielded no results, never succumbed to discouragement. Each failure was not a setback, but a stepping stone, an essential piece of the puzzle coming into place. He understood intuitively the power of assumption, holding fast to his mental image of success. Every trial strengthened his conviction. He lived not for immediate validation, but for the inevitability of eventual triumph. He did not wait for proof. He became the proof through sheer persistence and unwavering belief. Charles Schwab operated from a deep internal confidence, an absolute trust in his vision that magnetized others. He didn't merely persuade. He embodied his beliefs. His certainty created a gravitational pull that others could not resist. Employees, peers, and rivals alike were drawn to his assurance, inspired by his unshakable faith. He understood the principle that faith, clearly defined and resolutely maintained, creates its own reality. Schwab's success wasn't merely the product of strategic decisions, it was the outcome of consistently assuming victory in every action he undertook. Andrew Carnegie moved through life with the serene confidence of a man who already knew the outcome. He did not ask permission, nor did he pause at signs of difficulty. His assumption of success was absolute, unshakable, rooted in an inner world of clarity and determination. He knew that reality bends to those who hold their vision steadfastly, undistracted by temporary setbacks. His legacy was not built merely on strategy, but on the powerful mental foundation of unwavering assumption, a foundation so firm it could withstand any storm. These men understood and harnessed the invisible power of assumptions. They lived from the end, not towards it. They moved as if their desired outcomes had already manifested. This mindset did not make them immune to challenges. It empowered them to transform those challenges into stepping stones toward their ultimate goals. Why not you? Why not now? You have spent enough time in worry, hesitation, and narratives anchored in fear. Today is your opportunity to rewrite the script, to let the hesitant version of you vanish, replaced by the self who walks boldly in certain. You cannot hold on to two identities. One must fade away. Today, I offer you a new mental framework, a fresh lens through which to perceive life. Act as if everything is always working out, not because it's guaranteed, but because this mindset makes you unstoppable. When you assume inevitable success, your movements are courageous, your voice carries authority, and you command life instead of negotiating with. This recording is your mental reset, your new subconscious operating system. Repeat it daily until certainty becomes your natural state, and doubt withers in your present. Fear cannot survive in the realm of unwavering faith. Listen carefully. Speak these truths aloud, and allow them to permeate your entire being, shaping you from within. What follows is not mere motivation. It is profound subconscious reprogramming. By the end of this session, you will think differently, act differently, and exist differently. Let's begin by asking a transformative question that holds the power to rewrite your destiny. What if everything works out, not just comfortably, but completely? The setbacks, the delays, the pain, the silence, all of it. What if every moment of struggle is meticulously constructing the exact version of you needed to fulfill the dreams you have asked for? Most people live in anxiety, bracing for failure, speaking of worst-case scenarios, unconsciously directing their energy toward their fear. Yet there is another path, a path that requires no hype, no perfection, merely the choice to believe before seeing. Belief is not reactionary. It is an active decision. Your subconscious does not debate. It accepts your repeated thoughts as absolute truths, shaping your reality accordingly. Imagine waking daily with an internal command. Everything is unfolding perfectly for me. Even amid challenges, you move with certainty, execute as if success is imminent, and build on foundations only you can see. This is not delusion, it is self-leadership. Edison declared, "I have not failed. I have discovered 10,000 ways that will not work." This mindset separates legends from those who falter after mere setbacks. Henry Ford persisted not to prove skeptics wrong, but because in his mind, his vision was already accomplished. Weak minds wait for proof. Powerful minds move as if proof already exists. This mindset dissolves panic, replaces uncertainty with poise, and instills an unwavering belief. The outcome is certain. It is merely a matter of timing. So, ask yourself again deeply, what if it all works out? What if every obstacle was divinely orchestrated for your ultimate transformation? When you anchor yourself in this assumption, fear dissolves, the unknown becomes your ally, and your only responsibility becomes continued forward motion. Say it now with conviction. I live knowing everything is working in my favor. I do not panic. I prepare. I build silently. And I never retreat because I have already determined the outcome. This is not mere optimism. It is the essence of transformation. Move as if everything works out, and soon it must, because the world inevitably mirrors what your mind accepts. This truth, when repeated and lived daily, will transform not only your outcomes, but the very essence of your being. Now, let us delve deeper into the sacred understanding of how your assumptions shape not merely your circumstances, but the very fabric of your identity. For you see, my dear listener, assumption is not simply a mental exercise. It is the profound mechanism through which you summon new realities from the depths of your infinite imagination. Your subconscious mind, that divine architect within, listens with absolute loyalty, accepting every repeated assumption as command, as truth, as reality itself. Each thought you consciously choose, each internal declaration you firmly repeat, reshapes the contours of your subconscious landscape. It molds your beliefs, crafts your identity, and ultimately orchestrates your experience of the outer world. Consider the immense power lying dormant within you at this very moment. Imagine waking each morning enveloped in a serene certainty, a quiet inner knowing whispering ceaselessly, "Everything is aligning perfectly for me." Imagine encountering each challenge, each apparent setback, not as a threat, but as a divine signal, a confirmation that your assumptions are actively rearranging reality, even if you cannot yet see the evidence. The average mind will recoil at uncertainty, shrink from silence, and retreat when faced with ambiguity. Yet the awakened mind, the mind that understands the sacred law of assumption, embraces these moments, knowing they are mere preludes to manifestation. It recognizes that silence is the incubator of creation, uncertainty the fertile soil of possibility, and ambiguity a divine canvas awaiting your definitive strokes of imagination. In the hidden history of greatness, you will find countless souls who mastered this truth. They stood in the quietude of inner assurance long before the world could perceive their visions. They nurtured their assumptions meticulously, patiently, persistently, never swayed by external appearances. Beethoven composed symphonies in deafness, his ears silent to external sound, but attuned entirely to internal harmony. He assumed beauty where the world saw limitation, and thus, through assumption alone, he brought forth timeless masterpieces. Nikola Tesla envisioned a world powered by invisible energies, assuming what others dismissed as fantasy. He did not wait for approval or visible evidence. He moved boldly in alignment with his inner certainty. Each step he took, each experiment he conducted, was infused with a faith so potent that reality itself bent toward his assumption. So too, your life bends to the dominant assumptions you hold within. The universe, impartial and infinitely responsive, mirrors back to you the exact nature of your deepest convictions. It does not question your thoughts, it fulfills them. It does not challenge your beliefs, it manifests them. Therefore, you must choose your assumptions with exquisite care, crafting them deliberately and reinforcing them with disciplined repetition. What assumptions do you currently hold that no longer serve the grandeur of your vision? Identify them clearly, see them without judgment, and gently release them. Replace them deliberately with new, empowering assumptions. Declare with calm authority, "I assume success. I assume clarity. I assume abundance. My life is a constant unfolding of miracles, perfectly orchestrated by my intentional beliefs." Speak these words not once, but repeatedly, embedding them into your subconscious until they form the very fabric of your identity. Visualize vividly, daily, the person you have already become in your assumptions, the version of yourself who walks confidently, speaks clearly, and acts decisively. Feel the emotions of that reality as fully as you can. Immerse your senses in the joy, peace, and profound satisfaction of having your desires fulfilled. Understand this clearly. Your emotions are the fuel that powers assumption into manifestation. When you emotionally align yourself with the reality you desire, you hasten its arrival. Emotionally charged assumptions create an irresistible magnetism, pulling circumstances, people, and opportunities into perfect alignment with your inner vision. Yet patience is your ally. Do not become restless or anxious if immediate results are unseen. Remember, your physical reality operates within the constraints of time, while your subconscious mind transcends these limits, working ceaselessly behind the scenes. Trust this divine process implicitly. Know that unseen forces are aligning, restructuring, and preparing the precise conditions required for your assumptions to manifest fully and flawlessly. Each day, reinforce your assumptions through conscious repetition, visualization, and emotional immersion. Act in accordance with your assumed reality. Move through the world as the person you have assumed yourself to be. Your speech, your posture, your decisions, all must reflect your inner conviction. When you embody your assumptions wholly, the external world must and will follow. As days pass, you will notice subtle changes. Coincidence will multiply, synchronicities will appear, and paths once obscured will become clearly illuminated. These are the whispers of your subconscious mind confirming your assumptions are taking hold. Celebrate these signs quietly, acknowledging them as proof that your inner world is indeed shaping your outer reality. Finally, let this profound truth become your eternal anchor. Your life is the exact outpicturing of your dominant assumption. Choose them wisely, reinforce them daily, and embody them completely. Move with the serene certainty that reality has no choice but to conform. For when you persist in your assumptions with unwavering faith, life becomes a magnificent reflection of your internal conviction. Now, speak this aloud with unshakable confidence. My assumptions shape my destiny. My thoughts create my reality. I live each moment in alignment with my vision, knowing that everything is always working out for me. This is not just a belief. It is your chosen truth, your new identity, your sacred path forward. Now that you walk in fulfillment, now that your actions mirror your end, we turn to a holier understanding still, one that makes manifestation no longer a desire, but a demonstration. You are no longer the seeker. You are the evidence. This is the secret few understand. The greatest transformations do not come when you are trying to change. They come when you are proving you already have. They come not when you are begging for breakthrough, but when you are being the breakthrough in motion. There is a vibration that no man can imitate. It cannot be faked. It cannot be borrowed. It arises from only one source: identity lived out without contradiction. This is what happens when you become the evidence. To become evidence is to become undeniable. It is to become the quiet answer to your own prayer. It is to step so fully into the new pattern that the old one dissolves, not from struggle, but from lack of use. You do not fix the old man. You forget him. You do not negotiate with your history. You overwrite it. You do not balance who you were with who you are becoming. You bury who you were and walk as who you are now. This is the holy death of indecision. This is the funeral of the false self. Now the world cannot help but respond, not to your words, but to your walk, not to your ambition, but to your alignment. Because when you become evidence, your presence speaks louder than your plans. Your energy enters the room before your body does, and your results begin to move at the speed of identity. So what does this mean in practice? It means you no longer ask, how do I get this? You ask, what version of me already has this, and how does he move? Then you match him. Every morning, every meal, every message, every breath. You match him not because it feels easy, but because you've made a decision to no longer betray the future you've already seen. The world is filled with men rehearsing identity, but only a few ever graduate to embody it. And fewer still remain long enough in alignment for the evidence to flood in. Because the ego seeks excitement, but evidence is built in repetition. The ego wants change today. Evidence compounds through discipline. You must decide, will I be remembered as the man who dabbled in power, or the man who became power? Evidence building is sacred work. It means you stop posting promises and start producing fruit. It means you stop explaining and start executing. It means you no longer draw your strength from being understood. You draw it from being aligned. You cannot argue with evidence. You cannot deny it. You cannot dismiss it. And once you become it, the world must adjust. Conversations shift. Doors open. Resistance weakens. Not because you've begged, but because you've become too aligned to be ignored. So ask yourself, where are you still seeking permission when you should be producing proof? Where are you still explaining your vision instead of embodying it? Where are you hoping when you could be holding? Become the man who doesn't wait for circumstances to validate him. Become the man who validates his circumstances by the way he carries himself. This is the way of the initiate, the master, the builder, Let your routine be the sermon. Let your posture be the prophecy. Let your silence be the signature of a man too devoted to be distracted. You no longer need to be seen. You need to be settled. You no longer need to be hyped. You need to be harnessed. You no longer need more information. You need more integration. Everything you've ever asked for already exists in seed form. But only the version of you who has become evidence can unlock it. It is not locked behind resistance. It is locked behind readiness. And readiness is not a feeling. It is a decision. A moment where you stop negotiating and begin constructing. A moment where your life becomes a living blueprint of the result you've declared. Do not be discouraged if the evidence takes time. That is part of its power. That is part of its weight. That is what makes it real. Because the deeper the foundation, the higher the tower. And right now you are laying bricks that others cannot see. You are building alignment that the world is not yet ready to applaud. But soon your results will speak in a language that silence cannot deny. Let this be your new code. I do not speak to prove. I do not move to impress. I do not wait to become. I walk as evidence. Say it now. I am the proof. I am the answer. I am the quiet force that bends reality. Say it again. I no longer seek evidence. I am it. I no longer wait for signs. I give them. I no longer explain my vision. I express it through motion. Let that become your compass. Let that become your code. Because the man who becomes evidence cannot be ignored. The man who becomes evidence cannot be delayed. The man who becomes evidence becomes the doorway for others. You are not here to hope. You are here to prove what is possible when a man lives in perfect alignment with what he has already claimed. So walk like it's done. Build like it's done. Decide like it's done. And soon, you will not just be the man who believed. You will be the man who proved it. Now that you walk, not only in fulfillment, but as evidence, visible, embodied, unshakable, let us press further into the sacred mechanics of transformation. For there is still a deeper current beneath all that you do, all that you say, and all that you manifest. Identity. Not the identity assigned to you by history. Not the one inherited from circumstance. Not the one shaped by wounds or whispered by doubt. But the identity chosen in stillness, forged in consciousness, declared in silence, and worn in power. This identity is not a mask you put on. It is the source you return to. It is not a strategy. It is your spiritual DNA revealed. And once you choose it, once you assume it, reality has no option but to bow. Yes, bow. Because reality does not lead. It follows. It echoes. It mirrors. It rearranges itself to reflect the dominant self-image you sustain without wavering. Identity is not a wish. Identity is a law. And once you live as law, your world is no longer random. It becomes rhythmic, predictable, certain. Not because life got easier, but because you got rooted. Rooted in who you are. Rooted in who you say you are. Rooted in who you refuse to negotiate about ever again. You see, most men shift identities like clothes. They change with mood. They adjust with circumstance. They shrink when challenged. They puff up when praised. But this is not mastery. This is mimicry. This is performance. The man who commands life is the man who chooses once and never looks back. He decides, this is who I am. And from that place, every other choice becomes obvious. You must understand, every delay, every hesitation, every contradiction you experience is rooted in one thing, a fractured identity. You say, I am powerful, but then you act small. You say, I am clear, but then you second-guess. You say, I am successful, but then you live like you are still waiting for permission. This is not alignment. This is identity confusion. And identity confusion will always produce inconsistent results, not because you are incapable, but because the signal you are broadcasting is scrambled. The universe does not hear what you say once. It hears what you embody always. So who are you? Not when it's easy. Not when you're inspired. Not when the sun is shining and the applause is loud. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when the plan goes quiet? Who are you when the feedback disappears? Because that identity, the one you revert to when the emotions wear off, is the one shaping your life. And if you want to change your life, you do not start with hustle. You start with being. Being is not reactive. Being is not hopeful. Being is not conditional. Being is final. Being is declaration. Being is embodiment without exit. You do not say, I hope to become. You say, I am. And when you say it enough, walk it enough, live it enough, everything in your world reconfigures to meet it. This is not mystical. This is mechanical. Because your mind is programmable. Your nervous system is responsive. Your behavior is loyal to the story you tell about yourself. If the story is fractured, your life will be too. If the story is clear, your path becomes simple. Do not confuse clarity with ease. Clarity does not eliminate difficulty. It eliminates distraction. The man who knows who he is does not need every step map. He just needs to stay in character. Yes, character. Your identity is a character. And when you inhabit it fully, consistently, unapologetically, you gain access to the resources, insights, and relationships that match it. Identity is magnetic. Identity is filtering. Identity is the switch that turns confusion into conviction. But you must choose it every day. You must become unavailable to anything that contradicts it. You must become immune to compliments that don't align with it. You must become unshakable in the decision that formed it. Let me remind you, you do not need more time. You need more truth. The truth about who you are. The truth about what you were sent here to build. The truth about the authority you already possess. Do not wait for the world to mirror back your greatness before you accept. Accept it, and the world will follow. This is the law. This is the current beneath all change. This is what allows the select few to bend time, leap timelines, and live lives that others call miraculous. It is not miracle. It is identity. Chosen. Owned. Whoa. So say it aloud now. I do not borrow identity. I embody it. I do not chase reality. I command it. I do not wait for validation. I am the voice that decides. Say it again. I am the vibration of my vision. I am the voice of my future. I am the frequency reality must obey. This is your foundation. This is your new address. This is your invitation to live with no apology. Identity first. Reality second. Always. Choose. Now. And walk in until the world forgets the man you used to be.